Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to let you know that I have a brand new masterclass coming out on the 18th of April. It's the 7 Steps to Podcasting. This was voted for by my social media audience. It won out against the other by a margin, so I will do both at some point, but the first one is going to be the 7 Steps to Podcasting. So if you want to come and join me for this masterclass, it's going to run for about an hour on the 18th at 4 p.m. UK time. So join me by hitting the link in the show notes or head over to donnaeade.com/7 podcast steps, all one word. That's donnaeade.com/7 podcast steps. Now back to the episode. You're listening to the Mindset and Action Podcast, the place to be to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade. Let's jump into the show. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody, for this mini Mindset Monday. I am super excited. If you listened in 2 weeks ago for my last mini Mindset solo, you will have heard that I am bringing on my fabulous coach, Vivienne Joy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, lovely Donna Eade. Very nice to have you here.
So if you have been an OG listener to the podcast, you will remember that Vivienne was actually on the podcast in episode 69. So I will link that in the show notes for you. That was when the podcast had a completely different name. But I will link that episode for you if you want a bit more of Viv. But Viv, for this first episode, I really want everybody just to get to know you a little bit, get to know who you are, what it is that you do, your background, why you do what you do. Just tell us all the things.
How long you got?
10 minutes.
51. That means that's about 32 seconds per decade. Anyway, so obviously, as you say, I'm Vivienne Joy. Essentially, what I do is help people reset their mindset. And I worked out that I had a messed up mindset from my childhood, from a lot of things that happened. And it's not that I had a particularly traumatic childhood, but we all have stuff that happens in our childhood that messes our head up. We create beliefs that are not true, and those go through adulthood with us and stop us from doing the things that we probably should be doing, could be doing, would be doing, or want to be doing. So that's what I help people with, is to help them unpick those. They're never true in the first place, most of them, because with respect, I didn't really know anything about the world when I was 7, and neither did you. So, when we create a belief and then we live by that from 7 to however old we are, listeners, it doesn't make any sense, does it? So we have to get rid of those and form new beliefs, empowering beliefs, behaviors, thoughts, feelings, so that we can move forward and be the best version that we want to be of ourselves. And some people are quite happy with the version they are, in which case, brilliant. They're probably not listening to this. But some people know they've got stuff going on. They've got little voices in their head. They've got thoughts, feelings, behaviors that don't serve them, that they'd really rather not have. And so that's what I help them with. And particularly like to do that with business owning women, because otherwise they stay playing small. And women typically have got a lot to do in the world. They want to change the world, that kind of matriarch. We want to help people. We really are very service-based rather than money-based. There are money-based women, don't get me wrong, but most women want to really help people, like to be part of communities, like to feel good. And essentially, if we all kind of combined, got rid of all our mindset shit and got empowered, we could really make this an incredible world. But sadly, that's not what happens. And it's because of all the things we've experienced way back in the past. So yeah, unpicking all that so that you can move forward in business is what I'm all about.
Fabulous. And tell us a little bit about your background, because you've not been doing this since you left school and you've had such a varied career. Like, I think it's interesting to see how you got from, when you left school to actually sort of finding your path in life and your excellent, thing that you do so well.
Really read my book. So the Mindset for Business, the first part of my book talks about my CV, but it doesn't talk about it in a boring way, hopefully. It talks about it in the way of the beliefs I formed, good and bad. Like the really brilliant things I believed about myself, that I could do anything, but the shit things I believed about the fact I was lazy and I wasn't, I wasn't very good at school, essentially. I didn't go to university and all that kind of stuff. But I was really lucky when I left school. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Careers advisors back in the day, either a secretary, a hairdresser, or a PE teacher. That's all I remember, really. And there was no way I was being a hairdresser, because I did that when I was 12 in a salon washing hair, and I was absolutely useless. I was more soaked than the basin. I was really bad at it. And I knew I didn't want to be a PE teacher because I bloody hate games. I hate exercise, really is a nemesis for me. So secretary was the only option. So from little me, 16, went to Kettering College and did an intensive secretarial course. And beholden to me, it was very good fortune that they cancelled the course 3 months in. I hated it anyway. I hated education. I hated anything about it. I'm definitely undiagnosed ADHD and slightly autistic, which tells me now why I hated school so much. But I then went and had to get a job, and my mate Tracy, who I was friends with at school, and went and came and did the course with me. She said, "I've got a job for Volvo." I said, "Oh, what's that doing?" She said, "I'm a secretary." I said, "Right, brilliant." She said, "There's a job going at our place." So I went trotted down for the interview. It was a bit different back in the day, and it was in the accounts department. I had no idea what the bloke was talking about. He kept talking about posting invoices, and I kept thinking, yeah, I can walk to the post office and post those. But what he meant was obviously stuff on computers. Had no idea. Charmed my way through it, age 16, and Colin gave me the job and I started, and it was a big shock to me. But I was extremely good at it because I'm really good with numbers and figures. And so that was my beginnings. Fast forward about 4 years after that, I had a really good job. It didn't pay very much, although they were a really good employer and I was really, really good at it. I started to take over the department. And I remember one of the guys, Andy, he's married to one of my best friends now, ironically. He used to come in and he had suave suits on and he was all posh. And I said to him, "How can you afford all these suits, Andy?" He said, "Oh, I get commission for sales." He said, "You should do sales. You'd be really good at sales." So cue then, I got the Evening Telegraph, as it was there back in the day, on the Thursday night for the jobs, and saw a job for American Express as a financial planner. So I went for the interview, got the job, and the rest is history, as they say. So they taught me sales. It was commission only, and I hated that. And then I went to a recruitment agency and they snapped me up the minute I walked through the door. And then I had a career in recruitment. So I've been in many, many industries. From recruitment, I went into sales and marketing, worked for marketing agencies, PR, digital. So I learned very young, before the internet existed, when we were still using fax machines to send things through, which, Donna, I'm pretty sure you're not old enough.
No, I remember fax machines.
I'm absolutely ancient, don't I? But yeah, so from there on, I got absolutely enthralled by the wonder of how you got people to buy things, how you got people to read things, how you got how people worked. And I was quite fortunate that with one of those first jobs, Lynn, the lady who ran it, wanted us all to be better salespeople. Although we were turning over £1 million each in sales, each of the people, I trained them all, and she got in an NLP master. And that was the beginning of my career, as is now, really. Janet, her name was, and she was amazing. We just sat there like that in awe of Janet every week. We're like, what's Janet going to make us think this time? That's exactly how it went. And within about 6 weeks of this course that she came and did, which my boss thought was sales, but it wasn't. It was a whole NLP practitioner course. And at the end of that, it transformed our lives beyond recognition and our business, actually, how we did business, how we communicated, how we talked to clients, what we did, how we wrote job adverts, which is essentially what I was doing at the time. And so there was my lifelong addiction to NLP. So I am now, after many years, an NLP, I'm at the top of the game, really, NLP master coach, a hypnotherapist, master practitioner and trainer. So I now train people to be able to change their own life and change other people's lives as well by using coaching and NLP practices. So that's the short version of the CV. There's a load of I did some dodgy contracts, got forced out of companies that really took me down. And, the whole, hear people's stories about how they've been literally dragged under by working for different companies, shitty bosses, terrible people stealer. I had 2 people steal my job, had a whole load of stuff in the middle of that that really made me either fight or just go, do you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. And when my parents both died within 8 months of each other when I was 30, it was like, I've got to do something different in my life now. I can't be on the M6 and the M1 and the M5 for like 5 hours a day, which is essentially what I was doing at the time. And I started my own business, and that, as they say, is history. So I've not worked for anyone really since. I've had to go at it a couple of times, but I take over because I'm always the leader, always the boss, as you know. And luckily those were the jobs I took. But now I love what I do. Probably do it to the day I die. I'll probably be coaching someone on my deathbed. I know. But actually, what's going to happen after this is you'll feel this sense. So I can hear myself already coaching whoever's going to be with me when I pass. So yeah, so that's the CV shorthanded. But yes, I did get a lot of experience. I worked with so many different companies, you know, from Weetabix and Levi's and Virgin, big brands, right through to one-man band, local carpet company who didn't know how to sell their end of roll kind of stuff, and we were doing radio ads for them. So everything in between. So I'm really time served, which meant that I can not only teach people to become coaches, I can help them build that business and work out who to serve, who to help, and how to create that business for themselves. So yeah, I was part of the dot-com revolution back in the day.
I love that.
Dial up, that's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
So what I love is, you know, for me, I'm very careful when I talk to people to tell them that I am a podcast mentor, not a coach, because I feel like I'm not a qualified coach for a start. So to me, I'm very big on qualifications. And I'm like, I don't want to go and step over my boundaries. And people will call me a podcasting coach, and it's happened a few times, and I've gone and corrected people, because I see coaching is when the answers are within you, and mentoring is when people don't know what they're doing. And I know that you do a combination with the people that you work with, because I work with you. So I know that you have that combination, because you've got the experience and the skills and the life experience, work experience to be able to mentor, but you also have all those qualifications and all of that insight to coach. And so for people who are looking for help with their mindset, and I just wanted to clarify those differences between mentor and coach, because I think because Viv does both, it can get a little bit, you know, oh, hang on a minute, is that what coaching is? But she does both because she's got the ability to do both. You can't coach somebody to start a podcast if they don't know how to set up Audacity.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's the best way of describing it, Donna. So I need a coach because I need to know to learn. Unless you're learning about yourself and what's stopping you or the talents within you, then you don't need a coach. It's the most inappropriately used word anywhere, honestly. A coach. Most people are mentoring, and please know that, you know, there are lots of people who are amazing consultants, mentors, trainers, you know, confidants, whatever, you know, sounding boards, whatever you want to call them, that are really effective, but they're not coaching. And so coaches are trained to ask questions. The way I train my coaches, they're trained in advanced rapport building and to understand body language on a whole other level. So as a person's answering, they know where that answer's coming from within the brain. So it's a very powerful set of coaching skills. Very different than saying to somebody, right, what you need to do is you need to do this, and I would do that if I was you, and we'll give that a go, and then we'll see what happens, which again is mentoring. Or training is, this is how everybody does it, and this is how you should do it, and this is what works for everybody. So they are very different things. And I think the first thing people need to work out is what they need, because most people don't know what they need. They just know they need something or someone. And I'll always say, have you been and done training courses? Have you read books? Have you watched YouTubes? Have you done free stuff? Yes. Have you done it yet? No, you probably need a coach. That's the way I'd ask somebody, because there's so much information. I mean, Donna, I'm sure you've got loads of free stuff out there that people, I mean, this podcast for a start, I feel sure will give them loads of insights. So if they still haven't started their podcast, they've got a mind block, they've got a confidence issue, they're scared of visibility, they don't know who they're talking to, they don't know what they're saying, which I know you mentor them to help them with, really. So I do the mindset part. But if your mind is set in the past, it won't let you get past it. So if mind needs to move into the future, it needs to be unblocked and reset. That's why I do what I do. And I did this because I started helping business owners and realized that they weren't getting anywhere. I'd be like, what's going on here? You said you were going to do that. You said you were going to call that person. You said you were going to create that page. You said you were going to write that blog. You haven't done any of it. I'm sure you've watched a lot of Netflix. And actually what happens is when we're scared of something, we hide, right? We either think, oh, we don't really need it. We'll make all sorts of bullshit excuses up to ourselves. Oh, no, I'll do it next week. It'll be better. The summer will be better. People will read things. I don't know. We make all sorts of crap justifications for ourselves. But actually what's really going on is we're just trying to keep ourselves nice and safe. That's all the unconscious is doing. And rather than getting annoyed with ourselves, if we just understand which part of us wants what level of safety, and how can we stay safe while we still do it, that's step by step just moving forward, then we're more likely to move towards success and not stay in safety, which is what the unconscious brain brain trains us to do. That's why people stay safe. I mean, that's why when, God forbid, 4 years ago, we all went into this crazy stay safe place. It's like we're all terrified. I think some people haven't fully come out of it yet, actually. Yeah, absolutely. I put a post out, was it yesterday or the day before, about what I posted when we went into lockdown, or we were just about to. And some people are saying, yeah, we're still there. Our industry's still there. We're still there, and it's 4 years on. So the brain will do all it can to keep you safe at all times. So mostly people are the JFDI, they're just getting on with it despite being terrified, despite being nervous, despite being all dry mouths. I watch public speakers. I do a lot of, public speaking stuff, and I watch them go on and they're terrified. I mean, literally terrified, dry mouths, shaking, red face, sweating, blotchy, shaking, knees going. You think, are they going to make it onto the stage? You're like, wow, we need to sort that out. What are you really scared of? What is going on there? So, and that's the same with all parts of business, by the way, but that one's just the most visible. You must have podcasts. They know exactly what they're going to say, I bet, and they've got all the kit probably, and they've got it all the platform sorted. Now you've got to speak into that microphone and record that thing. It's terrifying for most people. Do you know what most of it comes from, Donna, though? I don't know whether you've had this experience. It comes from school. Do you remember having to stand up and do like your 5 times table or your 10 times table? 7 times table, holy shit, don't know that bit. Most of us, we were like, or, reading out loud or spelling stuff. We were made to feel like we couldn't do stuff. So it comes really young on, comes from, junior school, sometimes even infant school. If you can't write I remember the cards that we had to write from Mother's Day cards and things like that. We're made to feel like we can't do this as good as the person next to us or in that class, and we should be able to. And that's what really messes us up, because it's not true, is it? We're all so different.
Oh, that's a brilliant example as well, because I was speaking to somebody the other day and I was talking to them about that exact thing. Is that at junior school, we used to put our chairs on the desk so the cleaners could clean underneath, and we'd have to stand there at our desks and the teacher would say, okay, 7 times table, and point to the first person, and they would have to go 7, 14, 21. And then if you were ready, you were like, and you're panicking and you're trying to work out what number you're going to be so that you can try and work it out. And oh my God. And if you got it wrong, you had to stand there.
Oh, wow.
You weren't allowed to go. Everybody who got it right got to go home, and you could be left as the last one standing because you didn't get the question right.
Oh, I didn't even have that, Donna. That's terrible. I bet you don't think numbers either. So you'd create a belief in that moment. You're no good with figures, you're no good at numbers, you're no good at standing up, you're not as good as the first 5 people. You would absolutely create a whole belief system that's not true just based on that. In fact, we didn't have it quite like that, but I remember a girl called Sarah in my class who had to stand up and read out loud, and she had a lisp. So, and she wet herself. She was so nervous and scared, she wet herself. And even as a 6-year-old, I think I was 6 or 7, I remember thinking, that's not right. Why are you making her do that? She was so scared she wet herself. So you can imagine the belief she created back then and carried through her life. I wonder what she does now. I've no idea, but I bet it's not public speaking or anything where she has to be customer facing, because she was terrified.
Yeah.
Now when people have lisps, well, I kind of like them. I think they're quite cute. I think we don't have a problem with it, but kids are awful, aren't they? She was already being teased for that. So for them that to be a problem, yeah, we create all sorts of beliefs in school, terrible beliefs. I think if you're taller, fatter, thinner, more clever, prettier, more popular, not as rich. I mean, there's so many variants, classist variants that we've got, actually, discriminatory variants that we have as children. When we get older, we're not supposed to do that. We're not allowed to do that. Legally, we're not allowed to do that in a lot of areas, and yet we do. This conscious bias is created by the unconscious. This unconscious bias is created by the unconscious to keep us safe. I don't know about you, but I'll see a gang of lads in hoodies and I'll immediately think, I'm not crossing the road. I'm going to stay on this side. I'm going to pretend I'm on my phone just in case. Nothing wrong with these lads. They're just standing, having a fag probably, or whatever they did when they were 15. I don't even know what they are. But my brain thinks I can't defend myself. So we will judge. We do naturally do that. And we judge ourselves more than we judge anybody else. And that's the problem we've got. We're judging ourselves. We look in the mirror. We do all sorts of work around ourselves of, you're not good enough. You don't look this. You're not that. You should have done that. You could have done that. Why didn't you? This level of self-talk really is debilitating in all areas of life, but particularly in business, because you are your own boss. So no one's saying to you, would you know, it'll be all right, get on with it. You're like that, I can't do it. That's what your brain's going, I don't want to do it. I'm not good enough. I can't. And there's no teacher or friend or parent even to go, come on, it'll be okay. Or do you know what? You don't have to do it. So you're having to parent yourself through it all. I do a lot of transactional analysis stuff. In fact, I've got a workshop, a free workshop at the end of this month. So I don't know when this is going out, but that is is your inner child in charge? Because if that inner child is in charge of the business, it's never going to work. It's never going to happen. You've got to get that inner child nice and comfy and safe so that the rest of you can take charge of the business. The adult can get boss of it and do it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a very powerful work, mindset work. And mindset, I think people think mindset work is the rah, come on, motivational Tony Robbins stuff. By the way, I'm an absolute fan of Tony Robbins. All of the stuff he does is NLP. I'm not sure about him as a person, but actually his methodologies are a bit harsh for a lot of people, but he does get results. I've been to a few of his things, but it's very much the case of we believe what we tell ourselves. We believe what we tell ourselves, and if we're telling ourselves we're shit and we can't do it, then that's what's going to happen. So it's very
that's what you help with, which I love. So where can people find you if they want to find out more and start sort of delving into everything Vivienne Joy?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was at an event last week and I met a lovely woman and she went, "You're bloody everywhere." I was like, "Oh, you must need me then, because otherwise I wouldn't be coming up if my algorithm work is working." So yeah, obviously Vivienne Joy. I'm spelt the French way. Thanks, Mum. Gonna have to spell that forever, and Joy. So that my business is Vivienne Joy Coaching. So viviennejoy.com is my website. So you'll find all sorts of lovely things on there. You know, I've got my own podcast, and that matters, where I talk into it, and I've got people that I interview about all sorts of things around business building. There's loads of free stuff. There's a video library of trainings. There's probably about 200-300 of them in there. So, you know, just to get you started, just to work out who I am and if I'm right for you, because I'm not for everybody. I'm going to probably say the things and ask the things you don't want me to ask. Hey, Donna, you've been on the receiving end.
Yep.
That's not nice to hear. That's not easy, but it's bloody right. And once you come to terms with it, and I know, because I say it to myself, you know, I'm building my business in a different way now, and I've got in my own way. I'm like, oh my God, I get where everybody is. New level, new devil. So it's not just people in startup. You know, I've got clients that are at 7-8 figures and they have the same problem, exactly the same. It doesn't matter where we are. We always think, oh, once we get loads of money and loads of clients and we know we're good at it, it'll be okay. No, because then you want to go to the next level, and then you've got a whole load of not okay again. So yeah, I'm got some really big ambition with my She Coaches, which is my certification for the next 18 months, which has me going, oh God, that's all scary stuff. Like, I don't know who I am at that level of it's not even about the money really, but that level of people that are all there doing, you know, what I do essentially and helping the world change. It's like mind blowing. It makes me a little bit emotional in a good way, but it's all a bit overwhelming. You know, business is pretty overwhelming. There's a lot to do, a lot to learn. And just when you think you've learned it, it all changes and you have to learn it again. And then you find someone else that's telling you that bit wasn't right in the first place, because the person you chose to learn it from hadn't really learned it. They've just done it. Somebody else had done it. And yeah, there's a lot of that going on at the moment. So yeah, choose your people wisely, people. That's my suggestion, because there's lots of people out there just out to sell. And don't get me wrong, we need to sell in business. We need to make money. But some people have got their heart in the base of it. And then all the people that are saying they have, you can just feel it. So definitely kind of tune in and just trust your gut about who's right for you. Not because they're saying something, because you can feel it from them. That's my biggest bit of advice, really, at the end of this sesh.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, there will be links in the show notes for you, as always, for you to go and connect with Vivienne and join us in a fortnight. And we're going to be talking more about mindset. So come and join us then. This is going to be a regular thing. So if you've enjoyed today, make sure you're subscribed where you listen so you don't miss out when we next have a chat. So thank you, Vivienne, and thank you, listeners. If you're looking to build a deeper connection with your audience this year and you're a passionate business owner with a message to share, then I would love to help you do that via podcasting. If you're interested in starting a podcast this year, head over to donnaeade.com/apply to register your interest today. Don't forget to hit subscribe where you listen and rate and review the podcast if you've enjoyed it. You can also share this episode with a friend. It is a great way to help the podcast out to get to more listeners just like you.